Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Kala Sanji Radha Kala Sanji Sri Radhe. Jaya Radha Kala Sanji Radha Kala Sanji Sri Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Govinda Sri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe, Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jayam Vishnupad Parahamsa Prakacharya Satota Ishman, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Antikoti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Hari Das Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Seko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivsadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kalashanji Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Muramaya Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Hari Nam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Brihat Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Gaura Pramanande. All glories to the symbol devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the symbol devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the symbol devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shishi, Guru, and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Which verses shall we cover today? (20 through 38). Okay, we went up to 22 yesterday. Jaya Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishwapati Paramahamsa Parajikacharya Ashtotrishata Shri Srimad Shri Abhay Charanarind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Shri Thakur Haridas Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Devi Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Rani Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Harinama Sankirtana Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai ISKCON PVT Samsthapak Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtapraishva Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishne Swadhamo Bhagate Dharmajnanadibhisaha Kalau Nashtadrisham Esha Puranarko Dhunoditaha. That's first canto, chapter 3, text 43. Now, today we're discussing fourth canto, chapter 20, texts 23 through. Okay. A lot of ground to cover. Okay, so this is beginning the prayers offered by Prithu Maharaj after hearing how pleased Lord Vishnu was with him. He's speechless until today. So, Prithuruvacha Varan Vibho Tvat Varada Ishwarat Buddha Katham Vrinite Guna Vikriya Atmanam Ye Narakanam Api Santi Dehinam Tan Isha Kaivalyapate Vrane Na Cha Prithuruvacha Varan Vibhotvad Varadeshwarad Buddha Katham Vrinite Gunavikriyatmanam Ye Narakanam Api Santi Dehinam Tan Isha Kaivalyapate Vranena Cha. Anyone else? Prithuruvacha Ran Vibhotvad Vadadesharat Katham Pranite Gunavikriyatmanam Ye Narakanam Api Santi Dehinam Tanisha Kaivalyapate Vranena Cha. Prithuruvacha Varan vibhotvad varadeshvarad buddha katham vrinite gunavikriyatmanam yenarakanam apisanti dehinam tani shakaivalyapate vrinena cha. Ladies? No. Cha. Prithu Vacha. Prithu Maharaj said, Varan, benedictions, Vibho, my dear Supreme Lord, Twat, from you, Varada Ishwarat, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest of the bestowers of benedictions, Buddha, a learned person, Gatam, how, Vrinite, could ask for, Gunavikriya, bewildered by the modes of material nature, Atmanam, of the living entities, Ye, which, Narakanam, of the living entities living in hell, Api, also, Santi, exist, Dehinam, of the embodied, Tan, all those, Isha, O Supreme Lord, Kaivalyapate, O bestower of merging in the existence of the Lord. Vrne, I ask for, Na, not, Cha, also. Translation. My dear Lord, you are the best of the demigods who can offer benedictions. Why, therefore, should any learned person ask you for benedictions meant for living entities bewildered by the modes of nature? Such benedictions are available automatically, even in the lives of the living entities suffering in hellish conditions. My dear Lord, you can certainly bestow merging into your existence, but I do not wish to have such a benediction. Please repeat. My dear Lord, you are the best of the demigods who can bestow benedictions. Why, therefore, should any learned person ask you for benedictions meant for the living entities bewildered by the modes of nature? Such benedictions are available automatically, even in the lives of living entities suffering in hellish conditions. My dear Lord, you can certainly bestow merging into your existence, but I do not wish to have such a benediction. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There are different kinds of benedictions according to a person's demands. For karmis, the best benediction is promotion to the higher planetary systems, where the duration of life is very long and the standard of living and happiness is very high. There are others, namely Gyanis and Yogis, who want the benediction of merging into the existence of the Lord. This is called Kaivalya. The Lord is therefore addressed as Kaivalyapati, or master or lord of the benediction known as Kaivalya. But devotees receive a different type of benediction from the Lord. Devotees are anxious neither for the heavenly planets nor for merging into the existence of the Lord. According to devotees, Kaivalya, or merging into the existence of the Lord, is considered as good as hell. The word Naraka means hell. Similarly, everyone who exists in this material world is called Naraka, because his material existence itself is known as a hellish condition of life. Prithu Maharaj, however, expressed that he was interested neither in the benediction desired by the karmis nor that desired by the jnanis and yogis. Srila Prabodhanand Saraswati Prabhu, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, described that Kaivalya is no better than a hellish condition of life. As for the delights of the heavenly planets, they are factually will-o'-the-wisps, or phantasmagoria. They're not wanted by devotees. Devotees do not care even for the positions held by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, nor does a devotee desire to become equal with Lord Vishnu. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Prithu Maharaj made his position very clear. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Madgavira Vigopala Svikuryat Kripaya Yadi Tadaiva Sampayaha Pitwa Prashye Yustat Priyajanaha. So Prithu said, Varam Vibho Tvad Varadeshwarat Buddhaha Katham Vrinite Guna Vikriyatmanam. How can I ask for something that's requested by those who are so bewildered by the three modes of material nature? Varam Vrinishweti Yadoktam Tad Asahamana Aha He Vibho. Sridhar Swami comments that it's said here, what he refers to here when he's asking for a benediction, or when there's any question of a benediction, is said to be intolerable. Varadanam brahmadinam ishwarat varapradat twat or twatta sakashad buddha katham varan vranite. How could a person who's intelligent ask for something from you that is available from those who are giving boons, such as Brahma and other controllers of this material world. Why should he ask that from you? Anybody can give that. This is the point. Or as Prabhupada often tells us, if you have a if you have a chance to see a big man who's in charge of so many important things, then why should you just ask him if you can borrow $1? Because he can give you so much money. So this is Shripati is being addressed here. He's Kaivalyapati, particularly in this verse, but we know from elsewhere that he's also Shripati. He's the lord of the person who is in charge of all opulence. A Shri, what does Shri mean? Beauty, what else? Opulence, what else? Lakshmi, somebody said, what else? Huh? Not really. Anything auspicious? Yeah, it means all the above. Madhvacharya breaks it down for us very nicely in his Dwadasha Stotrams when he says, Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sarga Mahavibhute Vritti Prakasha Niyamavrita Bandha Mokshaha. These are the things that Shri is in charge of. First of all, Srishti, the creation of this material world. Lord Brahma cannot do anything to create. Although he's the creator of this material world, he's got nothing to work with if he's not benedicted by the opulences required for that task. Correct? Because Shri means opulence. And Sthiti, the maintenance of this world is actually carried out by Lakshmi Devi, because she is the chief of those agents who act on behalf of the Supreme Lord. She's constantly engaged in service at his lotus feet. And everyone else is requesting benedictions from her. And pralaya, the destruction of this cosmic manifestation, that's also carried out by Lakshmi only, in the form of her expansion, known as Durga. And Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sarga, secondary creation, after Lord Brahma creates things, well, this is the secondary creation. He's putting everything in order, putting everyone in order, arranging all these cosmic manifestation that we know, all these planets, all these demigods, everybody's put in its proper place. And that's actually carried out by Lakshmi for the same reason, that without that benediction of the opulence necessary to do these things, nobody can do anything. So, Mahavibhute, therefore the source of all those things that are great wonders in this world, that is Lakshmi Devi only. Vritti, Prakasha, Niyama, Avrita, Bandha, Moksha. Then he gives a list of them. What are the great wonders of this world? Vritti means your engagement, your occupational duty. Everyone has an occupational duty, even if they choose not to perform it. The unfortunate people who are less intelligent and who therefore choose not to do their occupational duties as ordained in the scripture, they have to suffer the reactions for negligence, because that is the definition of adharma or papa, sinful activity, doing anything other than what is enjoined upon you. So, vritti, everybody has a particular vritti, and that vritti corresponds to our basic mood of trying to enjoy the Lord's assets. So we all come into this world from the spiritual world after having entertained the unhealthy, unwholesome prospect of trying to compete with God or trying to exploit his resources while evading his authority. And what we get in exchange for this perverse desire, as Prabhupada calls it, the word perverse is really the best word to describe it, because it's just like that. Somebody who is perverted is someone whose consciousness is tweaked or curdled, we can say. Lord Shiva is nothing but curdled Vishnu, because if and when Vishnu comes in direct contact with the external energy, he's no longer called Vishnu. He's called Shiva at that point. And Shiva himself can become curdled further. And he's manifested in so many lesser demigods like that. We are also curdled in this way. It's perverted. So, of course, with Lord Shiva, it's a special situation. With great Ishwaras like Brahma and Shiva, they're acting always on behalf of the Supreme Lord. We're not doing that. This is our problem. And that's why we have to undergo karmic reactions in the form of suffering of various sorts. There's only three things that can happen when we turn away from God. One is that we get further sunk in the materialistic, dualistic illusions of sense gratification and dreams of competing with the Lord. We just become more deeply mired in our own illusions. That's the first thing. Second thing is that as a result of our sinful reactions, sinful activities, we'll get reactions that we have to undergo suffering, threefold miseries of the material existence. Or at best, we can try to get out of this material entanglement by cultivating gyan, and that's called liberation, but it's only a hypothetical state. And as soon as you try to do something again, you immediately incur either karma or the Lord's pleasure. How is that so? Because if you do materialistic activities, you get a reaction. Yajñarthat karma nonyatra loko yam karma bandhana, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Everything we do that is not enjoined by Krishna, that has a reaction. But if we choose not to do that, then what's the other option? We can get some theoretical understanding of our existence in the spiritual realm. It's a kind of a subtle way to escape from Bhagavan, but it's the same essential thing. We don't want to surrender. So all the non-devotional options can be summed up in two categories, broad categories, with many infinite subcategories. One is karma, one is gyan. And with gyan, we're frustrated because although we're not suffering these reactions of our past sinful activities, but we're neither enjoying. So we have a frustrated existence in which we cannot fulfill our desires. Nagharka, nagharka, as we say in Hindi. We neither in this world, neither we're in the spiritual world. We have no position except a hypothetical position of so-called liberation. So this liberation is also cheating. So in this way, we cheat ourselves, birth after birth after birth, in so many ways. So here, the first line, where he's talking about persons who would go to some bestowers of benedictions. They're called Varadeshwaras, or the controllers. So there are so many controllers. We all have relationships of controller and controlled in this world, isn't it? That's called, it deals with a subtle topic discussed in the second canto, which we've mentioned yesterday or the day before. Adhyatmic existence, Adi-Daivik existence, and Adi-Bhautik existence. So we all have different relationships with one another based on our situation within this material world. And somebody is controlled by somebody else. This is always happening. But even those demigods who are controlling so many conditioned souls, they themselves are also controlled by someone higher than them. And ultimately, the supreme authority is Lakshmi, as we've stated. So, Mahavivritti. Then what comes after Vritti? Prakasha. Sometimes we're illumined. Sometimes we're enlightened. We see everything very clearly. And at that point, we think that we're liberated, and maybe we go for the temptation of Gyan, which is what the Gyanis do. Or at least within material world, we're in a relatively sattvic condition in which we can give advice to others and in which we can understand everything very clearly. That's called sattva guna, and it's represented by the Brahmana class. They are, in fact, exalted. That's why they're called Bhudevas. What does Bhudeva mean? a God walking on the earth. We have to give respect to them. Anyone in a superior position we have to respect. But they cannot necessarily understand everything so clearly as it is, because these three modes of material nature, Krishna says, they're constantly vying for supremacy. And although today you may be a Brahmin, you may be enlightened right now, relatively speaking, it is relative. But tomorrow, if the mode of passion hits hard, where are you going? Down. Or you may be very passionate and productive now. This is what people want to do. This is the main thing that we value in modern society. We don't value sattva guna so much. We value passion. We definitely value that. You have to do things. You have to make your mark on the world. Just like every dog has to pee on every tree. So this is the mode of passion. And so we think that we're very competent and very productive and very successful. Almost every conception of successful in the modern world is predicated on the assumption that you have to be in Rajaguna. They don't know it because they don't have that much sattva within them. But a person who is trained in the eyes of Shastra can see all this very clearly. And other people cannot see it because they're not practicing Krishna consciousness or not practicing enough. So, prakasha, this is prakasha. Then, what else? What comes when you have prakasha, when you have clear vision? Vritti prakasha niyama. Niyama means? Niyama. Niyama. What does it mean? Name, we say in Braj Pasha. Niyam. What does it mean? Discipline in general, yes. Sanyama, we can say. Niyama, sanyama, same kind of idea that, yeah, do some discipline. We are human beings when we have knowledge. And therefore we follow dharma when we're human beings, when we see things very clearly. That's called niyama. And then another thing that happens, because we mentioned already, the modes are taking over. You may have been in goodness at one time, you may have been in passion at one time, but when the tsunami of tamoguna hits you, then where do you go? Further down. And you become animalistic in your outlook on life. You can only think about gross bodily sense gratification and how to acquire it from others. And your every calculation in the world is based on what I can get from this one and what kind of threat that one poses to me. Once my god sister Govinda Dasi, she and her husband had opened the Hawaii Yatra on behalf of Srila Prabhupada early in the 1970s. They were actually Prabhupada's servants, secretaries, but Prabhupada sent them to Hawaii because he wanted them to preach. And that they did with great difficulty. And they established a nice temple, and the temple filled up with sincere devotees. But eventually, as always happens when temples get big, there was political clash among the devotees. And so she was in a tough spot because she was seen as the Shiksha Guru of virtually everyone, and yet they're all at each other's throats trying to ascend to their temporary position of supremacy in the realm of karmic wrangling. So they would come to her for advice, and she doesn't know what to say because she doesn't want to alienate the other party, but at the same time she doesn't want to take part in anything. She didn't know what to do, so she went to Srila Prabhupada, and she just, told Prabhupada, this is the situation. What am I supposed to do? Prabhupada was dealing with this on a global scale. Again and again, Prabhupada had to take his attention out of his books and put it into our problems like this. And despite how many times he was asking us to please relieve him of this kind of headache, we didn't do that. Anyway, so Prabhupada just closed his eyes, he shook his head, he was quiet for a minute, and then he said, "The mouse is afraid of the cat. The cat is running away from the dog. The dog is afraid of a human being. Human being is afraid of a tiger." You get the idea. But as far as we're concerned, Prabhupada said, They're all animals. That was his answer. That's all he said. She understood what he meant. Do we? So this is tamoguna, when we're thinking like animals, and therefore when you think like a... I was in the airport, believe it or not, this is true story. I saw a billboard. The billboard said, "Think like a dog." That was the caption. So, are you sure about that? You think like a dog, you will act like a dog. You act like a dog and think like a dog, you become a dog. Shastrakrit, everybody know this devotee, Shastrakrit, from South India? He was in Los Angeles, now he's in Atlanta, Georgia, big book distributor. Very nice devotee. So he has a little daughter who's just she's full of pluck, and she's very intelligent. And she sometimes goes out on Sankirtan with her Appa, father. And she approached one man and said, "You should buy this book." She's only 4 years old. She told this man, "You should buy this book." And he said, "Why is that?" And she said, "Because if you don't buy this book, you may become a dog." What do you do when a 4-year-old tells you something like that? Anyway, so tamoguna means, this is called avriti, covering. We get covered over. And then we're dealing in this way with bandha and moksha. That means bondage and liberation. But all of these things, all of them come from Lakshmi. So Lakshmi is also called Varada, feminine. Varada, the dispenser of all benedictions. But we don't approach Lakshmi on that level. Why should we approach Lakshmi and ask for things that the dogs require? Why should we ask for things that passionate, hell-bound people require? Why should we ask Lakshmi even for those things that are going to bind us to material existence by a sense of happiness, which is characteristic of the Brahmanas, the mode of goodness? They're happy. Therefore, they lose all intensity to go back to Godhead. I was in Mudbidri, South Kannada district in India. We used to go there for the winter sometimes from Govardhan. And they're all Madhva Pandits who living there near one Venkataraman temple. And they all speak Sanskrit at home amongst their family members. They're speaking in Sanskrit. It was easy for us because, we don't have such easy time with the South Indian languages. And nobody will speak Hindi, at least not, well, now they do, but in those days, nobody was willing to speak Hindi in Tamil Nadu and other places. So we were happy because we could finally, there's some people we can talk with. Madhva Pandits. It was an amazing experience in general because it was just like an ISKCON temple. They have their morning program and they're doing their kirtan, and it's just really all Sattvic people, very happy. Everything, they had good health, they had enough to eat, they had everything, knowledge and piety as well, and everybody was completely satisfied with their life. And the result is that there was not very much intensity to go back to God, and I noticed it was striking by its absence, characteristic by its absence. So this is the great problem with the mode of goodness even. So whether we're in goodness, passion, or ignorance, we don't necessarily have to approach either Lakshmi Devi or any of these others, because she has her agents as well, as we've said. Durga Devi is one of them, meant mainly for those who are a little bit lower. Just as Lord Brahma is the passionate representation of Lord Vishnu in the material world, so Lord Shiva is the tamasic representation of Lord Vishnu in this material world. And in fact, Vishnu is also the sattvic representation of Krishna in this material world, or of Vishnu himself, Vaikuntha Nath. So we don't necessarily have to approach these deities or lesser deities to ask for things that are meant for those who are going to die. And what are those people called? Narakanam. Because it's hell if you live in a place where you can be killed at any minute, right? Just like if you live in Israel right now. Last fall, You have your kibbutz and you're happy with your family and everything going on smoothly, and then suddenly there's these, what are they, Hamas or Taliban or whatever they are, trying to impose their Tamasic faith on the rest of the world. So, Naraka, we are called Narakas, residents of hell. Really, that's the gist of it. Once a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada in London. This devotee was a little bit proud of the British, so-called civilization and British culture and all this. So in the class, this devotee asked the question, does Krishna speak Bhagavad Gita even in the hellish planets? And Prabhupada looked out the window and he said, yes, this London is hell, and we're speaking Bhagavad Gita? Completely popped that devotee's balloon. Totally finished. So, ye narakam api santi dehinam. Persons who are the dehabhimanam bhogyam itiva. This is Sridhar Swami's explanation. How is it so that we're not interested in asking for benedictions from the bestowers of benedictions? Gunair vikriyate iti guna vikrayo ahankara sa evatma yesham tesham brahmadinam sambandhinaha dehabhimanam bhogyam itiva. So that means those who are embodied and who are thereby living in hell, because if you're embodied at all, even if you're Brahma, he also has a suffering. Even though Brahma has no gross material body like ours, but he has a sense of suffering. What's something we can relate to this? When we dream at night, there's no gross body is not really doing anything. Body is dormant, gross body. But the dream is going on, or I should say not the dream, but the nightmare is going on. And in a nightmare, do you suffer? Yes, it's still suffering, subtle suffering. So even Brahma has to suffer in this way. What to speak of others? Why? Sambandhinaha. They're attached. They have a connection. And what is that connection? Dehabhimanam. The idea that this world is bhogyam, meant for me, enjoyment, something to be enjoyed by me. This is the false ego of bodily consciousness. Even if your body is subtle, it's still there. And this is the basis of our suffering in this material world. And you have to suffer in this material world. There's only suffering in this material world. You cannot be happy. Temporary happiness is the cessation, momentary cessation of suffering. Momentary cessation of suffering. And we take that to be happiness. In fact, we have no conception of happiness. We have no conception of love. We have no conception of humility. We have very little conception of anything. We have to see how this is true, and the Bhagavatam helps us to see how this is true. But even more than the Srimad Bhagavatam, who helps us to see the truth, this truth? Who helps us to see it? The spiritual master, because he's ready to call us a fool. A spiritual master cannot always be praising and friendly with a disciple. Sometimes he has to be heavy and chastise. And therefore, a disciple must be, we just said yesterday, disciple means discipline, but disciple means we also have to be humble before the spiritual master and eat that chastisement. Even if we can't understand it, still we fold our hands and we say, yes, sir, you are correct, I am a fool. And eventually we will come to understand it. If we get blessings from Lord Nityananda. Ara kobe nitai chan karuna koibe sangsara vasana amor kobe tuchha habe. All this illusion that we have, all this dehabhimana, and all the activities that extend from this illusory so-called identity that we've imposed upon ourselves in this world, it can be smashed in a moment by the strong chastisement of the spiritual master, and your whole life paradigm can change. when you get mercy. What is Mirabai ne kaha ki mere par nikas gaya Satguru Marya tir. Iska malab hai ki Mirabai said, not that she was a great authority or anything, but she was very eloquent sometimes. She said, I was shot through the heart by the arrow of the words of my spiritual master. So that is what we want, actually. That is the mercy of Nitai. If we can take it, embrace it, and act on it, that means we have been blessed. Because the spiritual master is none other than the mercy representative of Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, or confidential associate of Srimati Radharani. So for those of us who are narakas, hell-bound rascals, suffering on account of our bodily misconception of life, tan isha kaivalya pate vrane, we're not going to ask for the kinds of things from Kaivalyapati that are asked for by fools. This is the gist of what he's saying here. Tatached buddha evana bhavanti iti arthaha. The people who ask for temporary things and get them, and then end up right back where they started from, because every temporary thing wears out eventually. And then you're right back where you started asking for some other temporary thing. These are fools. And they're not very intelligent here. The word is used buddha. Buddha means an intelligent person. So jikupzitatvad apityaha ye. He speaks this verse just to show how abominable that attachment is. Buddha evahamapi navrane iti samunchaya samunchayaya chakara. Yeah. Okay, so this is what he's saying here. Jiva Goswami doesn't add so much, but he's giving instructions here for the persons who are siddha, perfect already, or he's giving instructions that will make you a siddha. You can see it either way. This is what he's showing in this verse. And he again also states the bestowers of benedictions include Brahma and other great Ishwaras. And same thing. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also has given us his purport. And he says, Prithu replies to the Lord's request to ask for a boon, because the Lord did ask him to ask for a boon. He didn't say what kind of boon he should ask for, but he did say you can ask for anything you like. And then Prithu's thinking, how can an intelligent person ask? A foolish person will ask for material boons, but asking for svarga and such things are the boons of the materialists, with minds who are created by transformations of the gunas. Our minds are created by transformations of the gunas. According to Buddhism, how do we reincarnate? Anybody know anything about Buddhism? Buddhists also accept reincarnation, but they don't accept the existence of the soul. How does that work? Something to think about. Just like they don't accept the existence of any god, but they worship statues of Buddha. How does it work? There's a lot of contradictions there, but what is it that reincarnates according to Buddhism? Not the soul. The mind-body complex. Yeah, the mind, really, the subtle body, what we call it, the subtle body, antahkarana. They have such a conception. But here, it's being stated that the mind is constantly evolving and constantly changing. So, in effect, you're reincarnating already, even within one life, on the subtle level. And that's why Krishna says, Tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. Because we're going on from so many bodies, it's just another transformation. So these minds are the transformations of the gunas for the materialistic people. And he says, O Lord of Kaivalya, Kaivalyapati, even a person desiring liberation does not ask for these boons. So then how can I accept them? This is his point. Since I cannot tolerate the name of liberation even, that is, as Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur also wrote, Kaivalyat narakayate tritashapura akasha pushpayate. He says this so-called liberation of absolute one with the Lord, that makes my life hellish. I'm not interested in that. And tridashapura akasha pushpa, the Sanskrit, we call it a flower in the sky, or we say castles, what is a castle in the sky or a flower in the sky, means a dream. When we say pipe dream, we say in English. It cannot exist. You can never be happy in the material world. So these things we're not interested in. This is the point. All right, so that's text 23. Shall I go on and read all the rest? Okay, so let me just quickly go through these. I'm sorry, there's just no time to do. Well, one more thing I'll say about Kaivalyapati we've discussed, I think, already, but Kaivalya literally means Kevala, the state of being Kevala. What does Kevala mean? No. Exclusive. Kevala means exclusive. Just like we say, Harinama Eva Kevalam, exclusive shelter of the holy name is what we're interested in. So Kaivalya means the state of being Kevala, the state of being Kevala means exclusive, but in a sense it also means one. If it's not anything else, then that means it's only one thing, right? Exclusive means it's not anything else. There's only one thing. And what is this one thing? Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit. That mood of being exclusively identified with spirit, that is actually a desirable thing. But to have the wrong conception that my matter, my identity excluding matter and identifying with the nature of the Lord means that I am the Lord, that is a problem. We have the same nature as the Lord, and we discussed yesterday we have the same mission as the Lord, or we should be cooperating with the Lord. But to think that I am the Lord, that is a massive illusion. And it's been disabused many times throughout Srila Prabhupada's books, so we don't need to talk about that so much. All right. Nakama ye nata tad apyaham kvachit nayatra yushmat charanam bhuja savaha mahattamantar hridayam mukhajato vidhatsvakarnayutam eshame varaha. I do not desire anything, and especially I don't want liberation, in which there is no nectar of your lotus feet, coming from the hearts of great devotees, falling from their mouths. Give me millions of ears instead. This is my request. So this is the nectar that devotees only know this. Dry theoretical liberation cannot satisfy anybody's heart. And everybody knows it already. It's just that some of us are lying about it. What are those people called? Mayavadis. Actually, every Mayavadi, they know everything. But they have their policy to maintain so that they can exploit the resources of the Lord or escape his authority. But actually, everybody knows. Sa uttama shlokam ahan mukhachato bhavat padam bhoja sutha karnanilaha smritim punaravismrita tadvavartmanam kuyoginam no vitaratyalam varehi. O most praised Lord, the topics falling from the mouths of the great devotees, or even the wind touching a drop of nectar from your lotus feet, brings remembrance even for the bad yogis who have forgotten the truth that you have just taught. Away with all these benedictions, including liberation. It seems he's really strongly feeling what he's saying, doesn't it? The Prabhupada has put an exclamation mark on his translation here. He's really got a strong realization that these things cannot help us. Yasha shivam shushrava arya sangame yadrichaya chopashranoti te sakrata katham gunagno viramed vina pusham shrir yat prasravre pravavre gunas sangrahe chaya. O Lord of auspicious fame, what person, having heard by chance just once your auspicious qualities in the association of devotees, what person who knows your qualities, which even Lakshmi accepts, with a desire to completely taste those qualities, what person would give up that glorification? Only an animal would do so. Have we heard this before? Huh? Where have we heard this? The same idea. Only an animal would give up this glorification of the Lord, hearing such topics. Where does it say this? Not you, others. Huh? No, you're way off track. Okay, Nivritta Tarshayar Rupagiyamanad, but nobody's reading enough to know that. The famous verse from the 10th canto, the demigods are praying. That the Lord, topics of glorification of the Lord are so sweet that nobody would give them up except for an animal killer, actually, Pashugnat, or an animal himself. This is the thing. If you're like an animal, then you may not be interested, but the rest of us should be interested. Okay, sorry, I have another technical difficulty with this computer. We're about to go on to number 25, I think. Let me check. Sorry? Okay, maybe this is it? I'm in the folio. Wait a minute. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. This would be Bhanu Swami's translation. Let me get back into the folio. Yeah. His translations, for some reason, are always different. But okay. And we're on text number 25, right? Oh, 26 already. Yes. Yeah, we've already recited 26 also. So 27. 11 more to go. Do we have time? It's already 8:45. You tell me what to do. That's also up to you. Anybody have any questions on anything so far? Yes, Ishwari Kumari.